All right, today we are going to discuss digital transmission. In digital transmission, we are going to focus on line coding schemes. So, as we progress with this lecture, which will be rather lengthy, we will try to cover as much as possible about the line coding schemes. So before we proceed to the scheme, there are certain preliminaries which I would like to share in order to help understand the line coding schemes better. Now, when we are sending information through a computer network, there are two options. We can send as digital transmission, or we can send it as a analog transmission. So out of these two, it can be either of the two. Today, what we are going to focus on is the digital transmission part, which I hope that it will help you to understand how transmission actually took place in a computer system, a computer network system. What we call it schemes, conversion schemes. So line coding is one such conversion schemes where digital data is being converted into digital signals. Now, if we look into this further, what is line coding? It is actually the process of converting digital data to digital signals. That is what we call, the simplest definition of line coding. So here we can see that we are actually converting digital data. In line coding, we are converting digital data into digital signals. We are converting digital data to digital signals. Okay. Now, what happened here is that what is that data that we are converting? Data is the information that we would like to send across the network. Uh, for example, data can be text, data can be numbers, images, audio, video, etc., that we normally store in the computer memory. And once we store anything that we store in a computer memory, will be in sequences of bits, that is zeros and ones. So that is what we call data, and those data are usually what we send it across uh, a computer network. So these data, which is in the form of zeros and ones, will be converted into digital signals so that it can be sent across a network. So as I said in the beginning, signals can be in the form of digital signal or in the form of analog signal. Now, before we move on to the uh, uh, line coding scheme, there are certain common characteristics that we need to understand. Now, uh, line, coding and decoding took place as we have seen, as it is displayed in this in this graph. You see, we have data. Okay, you have digital data here. This digital data, which is, as we have said earlier, in the form of zeros and ones, will be encoded. Okay, will be encoded into digital signals. In most cases, these digital signals are voltages, the presence or the absence of the voltage, or the high and low voltages. So that it is encoded into the digital signal, and ultimately when it reaches the receiving end, it is decoded. The signals is which is transmitted through the links is decoded back to the digital data, so that if we are sending an image file from here, we will be getting an image file. But in between, it goes as signals. So that is how coding and decoding takes place. And the transmission took place in the transmission medium, which may be a wired medium or it may be a wireless medium. So there are, as I said, some common characteristics that needs to be understood before this line coding schemes can be introduced. The first element is signal element and data element. So if we try to distinguish between signal element and data element, signal element is what we actually are transmitting, but data element is what we are sending, what we want to transmit. So since data element is what we want to send, so these data elements will be converted into signal elements. In other words, signal element is the carrier which carry the data. So the data, as we said, in the form of zeros and ones. Signal element in most cases will be in the form of voltages, for example, in order to differentiate between these two. So a data element is the is the shortest element. Shortest element of a data element can be either one or either it can be one or zero or one. Okay, so the signal element can also be the smallest element or a signal element is the shortest unit of a digital signal. In other words, a data element is what is being carried, and signal element is the carrier through which the network operates. Now, if you look at this figure, you can see that data elements can be carried by the signal elements in different ways. The first one here is one data element per one signal. That means this is one signal element. Okay, this length, this particular voltage at this point of time is one signal element, and on the other hand, one. Okay, the binary one is one data element. So one data element is represented by one signal element. Similarly here, one data element, one binary zero is represented by one signal element. Similarly, the binary one, which is the data element, the smallest element, is being represented by the smallest signal element, one signal element. This is one way of converting between the data element and the signal element. And here we have one data element per two signal element. That means we are using two signal elements. Okay, these two signal elements are being used to represent one data element. Similarly here, this low and high voltage we are using to represent one signal element, that is zero, binary zero. Similarly here also we are using these two signal elements, 1 and 2, to carry one data element. Now, another possible combination is that data elements per one signal element. That means we are using only one, okay, this portion, only one data signal element to carry two data elements. In this case, binary 1, 1, we are transmitting with only one signal element. Similarly, we can also do here 0 and 1 is being carried by by one signal element. Similarly here also. Now the fourth combination is that we are using four data element. There is 1101, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, four binary digits. We are using all these four. We are sending all these four data elements to, using three signal elements, 1, 2, and 3 signal elements. So this is also another possible combination. Now, the next common characteristics that we need to understand is data rate and signal rate. Okay, okay. Data rate defines the number of data element which can be sent. Okay, which can be sent in 1 second. That is number of number of data elements which can be sent in 1 second. Okay. Similarly, this signal rate is the uh, number of signal elements which can be sent in 1 second. So that is how we measure the data rate and the signal rate. Now, the the data element is usually, uh, I mean, defined as bits per second. In other words, BPS. So bits per second. That means how many bits can be sent in 1 second. And on the other hand, the signal rate is measured in terms of the unit is the smallest, how much signal element can be sent in 1 second is called a baud. Okay, so this baud is also known with various names. Sometimes the signal rate is also called as bit rate, and sometimes it is also known as a pulse rate. Okay, and then it is also known as modulation rate. Then you have baud rate as well. These are some of the nomenclatures which is used to uh, specify the signal rate. That is number of signal elements per second. Now, the goal of our communication is to increase the data rate. That means to send as much data rate as possible using minimum amount of signal rate. That is the optimum objective of a transmission, any form of electronic transmission. Now, if we may take an analogy of a car, then a car can be used to carry one passenger. Okay, one car, one passenger. Or a car can be used, one car can be used to carry two passenger or three passenger or four passenger. Now what happened is that if everyone in a city is using one person, one car, then the amount of traffic in that city or on that road will be very high. It will be very congested. But if one car is carrying two, three, four, then the amount of traffic will be much more, much lesser. The more the amount of passenger is increased per car, then the traffic congestion in that city or on that road will be minimized. So that is what we want to achieve when it comes to data rate versus signal rate. So our objective in that data transmission is to send the as much data as possible using a very few signals so that the congestion in the transmission channel is less. Okay, so that is one goal of data transmission. Now, coming to bandwidth, theoretically, people say that there is an unlimited bandwidth space. In other words, bandwidth is infinite. But when we talk about effective bandwidth, that means the range of bandwidth which can be used effectively, then the bandwidth is not infinite. Therefore, it is important that when transmission is to be done, then the range of bandwidth which range of bandwidth is effective, it can be used effectively, that needs to be determined. So because if when the low frequency bandwidths, for example, cannot be used by uh, all the communication system. When we talk about bandwidth, we normally define a range of frequency. So we need to know where this range is located, as well as the value of the lowest and the highest frequency. Now, coming to baseline wandering. So what is baseline wandering? When we are decoding a digital signal, the receiver calculates a running average of the signal, okay, the signal power. For example, let us say that we have a different variation. We have 0, we have +1, +2, -1, -2, and so on. So this is the, for example, this is a signal. Then what happened is that the average of the signal is being calculated. So the average signal used, whether it's 1, +1, 2, or 0, or 1, 2, 3, all of those, the sequence of signal power is being calculated. The average is calculated, and that average is called baseline. So what happened is this baseline is used to decide whether it is high or low, or the incoming signal power is evaluated against this baseline to determine whether the value of what is the data value of the data element. Now what happened is that if we have a combination of +1, -1, +2, and so on, there is no issue. But when we have a long sequence of zeros, okay, or a long sequence of ones, then the average calculation, the baseline started shifting, which is called baseline wandering. So a good line coding scheme needs to avoid this problem called baseline wandering. Then another characteristic that needs to be avoided is DC component. Okay, DC components. So when the voltage level in a digital signal is constant, then what happens is that there will be a very low frequency. In other words, they call this Fourier analysis. Okay, it is also called Fourier analysis. So when the frequency, when the signal is constantly at one point for a while, then there is a very low frequency. So this very low frequency is somewhere around the value 0. Now what happened is that this, if it, 0, and with that is called, it comes down to 0, and then that is called direct current or DC. So DC components. The problem is that this kind of very low frequency cannot be used by, so many transmission mechanism. For example, telephone line cannot pass frequency below 200 hertz. But if it is around 0, then there is a problem of transmission. Then we come to self-synchronization. This is also a very important issue, that synchronization is a must. Self-synchronization is a must. So to correctly interpret the signal which is being sent by the which is being sent and what is being received, the sender and the receiver needs to synchronize. All right. So the sender and the receiver needs to correctly synchronize their bit intervals. That means how long one bit is represented for how long, for what duration of signal. Okay, in this case, this much 1 is represented by this much, 2, and the 0 is represented this much. So this is what the sender is using the time clock. I mean, the clock tick is like this. But on the other hand, the receiver is reading the signal incorrectly because this much signal, the ping line is this much signal is used by two data, that is these two data, okay? And then even here also it's not synced properly as 2 here again. These two, I mean, is the length, I mean, it is using it is assuming or reading that more data, this much of time is used for more than one data element. That is what the receiver is and synchronizing. So there is a time synchronization problem. There is lack of synchronization. Therefore, this 8 bits becomes, in this case, probably it comes to around 16 bits. So which is the incorrect data which is being sent. This is because of the lack of synchronization. So timing of this includes self-synchronization, includes timing information in the data being transmitted. These can be achieved if there are transitions in the signal that alert the receiver to the beginning, middle, and end of the pulse. Then these can be taken care of. Then it is desirable that to have a built-in error detection, that whenever there is a error, then it is desirable that within the codification, the code itself, there is error detection mechanism. Then those errors can be minimized while transmission took place only. And it's also desirable that the codification scheme have some form of immunity to noise and interference. As you will see that in some codification schemes or in some schemes, there are the schemes are designed in such a way that there is some level of immunity to noise and interferences, which is also a desirable characteristics. Now, complexity. So a complex scheme is more costly to implement than a simple one. So a scheme that uses 4 signal level is difficult. Okay, 4 signal level is difficult than the one that use only 2 level. Now, finally, let us come to the line coding schemes. Line coding scheme. There are various schemes in line coding schemes, several schemes in each category. For example, we have different categories. This is one unipolar is one category of scheme. There's two polar is two, another one bipolar. Then we have multi-level. Then we have multi-transition. And within this polar, we have none return to zero. And in polar, we have none return to zero, return to zero, biphase scheme, within which we have Manchester and differential Manchester. Then in polar, we have AMI and pseudo ternary. Then in multi-level, we have 2B, 1Q, 8B, 60, 4D, PM. Then in multi-transmission, we have MLT3 and so on. So we will not be covering all of these schemes. Okay, these are the schemes. We will not be covering all of the schemes, but in order to understand the line coding in general, we'll pick up some of the schemes. These are the categories. If possible, we'll try to cover at least one scheme in each category. Now, in unipolar scheme, all the signal levels are on one side. Okay, on one side of the time axis, either above or below. That is unipolar. So this is what unipolar is. So on one side, whether we have a 0 or 1, the data is 0 or 1, it is all on one side. Okay, this is the 0 voltage. This is probably the positive voltage. Amplitude is positive. So it is all on one side. That is called unipolar. That means on one side. Now, traditionally, unipolar scheme was designed as a non-return to zero. That means that non-return to zero means that the positive voltage defines one bit, and the zero voltage defines 0 bit. So it is called non-return to zero because signal does not return to zero in the middle. That is, in the middle, here in the middle, here in the middle, here in the middle, it doesn't return to zero. That is why it is called non-return to zero scheme. Okay. So if you compare it with polar counterpart, then this uh, this scheme is very costly. As we can see that the power to send 1 bit per unit is very costly. That means we are 1 unit of data is being used to represent, I mean, 1 signal unit is used to represent 1 data element. All right. Okay. Now coming to polar schemes, we have here we have polar non-return to zero, zero level, and non-return to zero invert. Now in the polar scheme, the voltages are on one side of the time axis. Okay, on one side of the time axis, but in here the non-return to zero. Yeah, in the this is the polar scheme. Now in non-return to zero, in polar encoding, we use 2 levels of voltage. Okay, 2 levels of voltage amplitude. We have 2 versions. That is, as I said, L and I. L stands for level, I stands for invert. So as shown in this figure, you will see that the average, I mean, this is, if we compare this scheme, then one is represented by this positive voltage above 1. Then the next one is I mean 1. So 0 is in this case high, 1 is low. For example, if we have to use high and low, then here 0 is high again, 0 is high, 1 is low, 1 is low, 1 is low, 0 is high. As simple as that. So this is based on the level. If the level is high, then it's 0. The level is low, then it's 1. As simple as that. Now, non-return to zero invert is slightly different from this because the change or lack of change determines whether it is 0. Now, here in this case, we have high voltage. I mean, there's this voltage is there. No inversion in next bit is 1. So no inversion, next bit is 0. That means here we have 1. So after 0, we have 1. Therefore, there is a change. Okay. But since the next bit is 0, that is, this one is 0, there is no inversion takes place. So it remains 0. So no inversion. That is, the next bit is 0. So the next bit is also 0. Therefore, there is no inversion. But inversion takes place if the next bit is 1. Since this one is 1, therefore there is an inversion here. Okay, then it changes. Then again, since the next number is 1, so there is another inversion here again. And also here another, the next bit is 1, therefore we also have inversion here. But when we come to the next bit, that is 0, no inversion if the next bit is 0. Therefore, there is no change in the voltage. Okay, that is what non-return to zero invert is about. You invert when the next bit is 1, no inversion if the next bit is 0. That is the whole idea about it. Now, the level of the voltage determines the value of the bit in case of the non-return to zero level. But in case of non-return to zero invert, the inversion or the lack of inversion determines whether the value, the bit is, the data value is 0 or 1. Now, if we look at this scheme, then it might have difficulty discerning the bit value. The receiver might have a problem with that. But in the non-return to invert, this problem occurs only for a long process of zeros. Okay, so but the length may have several signal powers. If we have that is a long sequence of zeros and ones, then this one may have, the receiver will have problems. But if in the invert NRZ or non-return to zero invert, only if there is a long sequence of zero, then the receiver will have problems because there is no inversion, and no inversion means there will be a long sequence of no inversion, 0 0 0 0 0, then the receiver will have problems like baseline wandering that we discussed in the common characteristics of line coding. Then let us come to the return to polar return to zero. So this the main problem with the non-return to zero encoding occurs when the sender and the receiver clocks are not synchronized. Okay, if they are not synchronized, then there is a problem. The receiver does not know when one bit ends and the next bit starts. Okay, so there is a problem of synchronization. The receiver, so one solution is to return to zero. That means in between the bit, there is this is one bit is being represented by two signal element 1 and 2. There is a return to zero in between. Okay, this is one way of doing. So we see that the signal goes to zero in the middle of each bit. It remains there until the beginning of the next one. So here it goes to the next bit it goes up, and then in between it comes down. Okay, next bit it comes down, and then the next bit in between it goes up. Okay, so in between the data, we have two signal elements, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Now the main disadvantage of return to zero is that it requires two signal changes to encode only one bit. Therefore, it requires this will require more bandwidth, or this will cause more traffic. Like it is carrying, one car is carrying. In this case, we can say that two car is carrying one passenger. I don't know if such things exist, but if we have to take analogy, it will be like that. So there are some problems. Sudden change of polarity results in all zeros. For example, there are some other problems as well. Now let us come to the biphase. So in biphase, we have a Manchester and differential Manchester. Now, if you look at this, Manchester coding scheme, line coding scheme is very simple. If you look here, 0 is simply this one, 1 is simply this one. So 0 means from here it goes down. This pattern is 0. This pattern, low to high or negative to positive, is 1, positive to negative is 0, then again positive to negative is 0, negative to positive, using those phases to help you understand. Positive again, this is 1. So the pattern itself decides in Manchester encoding scheme, it decides whether it is 0 or 1. But in differential Manchester, there are some rules. No inversion here if the next bit is 0, inversion if the next bit is 1. For example, here we have 0, okay, then the next one is 1, therefore it will be inversion, the next is 1. Next bit, this bit is 1, therefore there will be inversion. Inversion means from this positive it will come down to the negative side. The next one is 0, therefore there will be no inversion, so it will be the same pattern here. Again, the next one is 0, therefore there will be no inversion. Okay, inversion means inversion of this. All right, so there is no inversion, 0 remains as it is. But since 1 is, the next one is 1, there will be an inversion. Okay, there is a change. And again, now here it is very clear, the last bit, the next one is 1, but it doesn't become in this pattern. It comes from high to low, there is inversion. Okay, because this bit is 1. So Manchester scheme overcomes several problems associated with non-return to 0 health, and differential Manchester overcomes several problems associated with non-return to 0 inverse. So there is no baseline wandering, there is no DC component, because each bit has a positive and a negative voltage construction. Now, let us come to the AMI and pseudo-ternary. So this is actually a bipolar scheme. So in bipolar encoding, sometimes called multi-level binary, there are 3 voltages. Okay, we have 3 voltages. Usually the voltage is I mean 3 voltage level, positive. Sorry, where is that? Positive, positive, and then negative. Let me put 0, 0, and negative. So we have 3 different voltages, while the voltage level of the other elements alternate between positive and negative. Now, in this figure, we have 2 variation of bipolar encoding. One is the AMI alternate Mach inversion, and the other is pseudo-ternary. So in terms of alternate Mach inversion, the word Mach comes from the telegraph, which is used in telegraphy, which means 1. So AMI means that alternate 1 inversion. Okay, alternate 1 inversion. If you look at this, this is 0 is 0, 0 remains 0 here. Since this is 1, so we take the first one as a positive logic. We use positive logic, and this is 1. So then the next one is 0, therefore it comes back to 0. Next is also 0, but this one is 1. So we need to take inversion. Okay, alternate inversion. We have to alternate the inversion. So the last one is positive, therefore this one will be negative. Then we come back to 1 again. That is AMI or alternate Mach inversion. Now, a variation of this is called pseudo-ternary, in which in pseudo-ternary, 1 bit is encoded as a 0 voltage, and the 0 bit is encoded as alternating positive and negative voltage. So in this case, this is positive. I mean, 0 is positive. Then 1 will remain in 0. Then 0 will be alternated here. So earlier it was positive. Here it will become 0, will become negative. Since the next one is 0 again, and this one was negative, therefore this will be positive. 0 will be here, and then in the baseline, and then the last bit is 0. So the earlier 0 is positive, therefore this becomes negative. This is another form of bipolar schemes. So this was developed as an alternate to non-return to 0. This has the same, the bipolar scheme has the same signal rate as non-return to 0, but there is the advantage is there is no DC component. So one way to ask why we do not have a DC component in the bipolar scheme is that we can also think about intuitive. If we have a long sequence of ones, the voltage level alternate between positive and negative, then it is not constant. Therefore, there will be no DC component. Now let us come to the next scheme, 2B1Q. Now, 2B1Q is simply based on this transition table. It is very important that this transition table is there. As we can see that if we have 2 bits, okay, 2 bits, then we can have only 4 combination, 4 different combination. If the binary, if a sequence of number, for example, 0 0 1 1 0 1 1 0 0 1, for example, this is a sequence of bits. Then we divide them into 2 bits, 0 0 1 1 0 1 1 0 and 0 1. Okay, so this is how it can be. Long streams of bits can be divided into 2. So each 2 binary will be represented in the form of this transition table. So therefore, we have the first bit, assuming that the positive, positive original level. So therefore, we take this +1 as a positive. Now the next one, next bit is, if this one is 11, the next bit is 11, 1 1. Not 11, sorry, it is 1 1. So if next bit is 1 1, then next level will be -3. Therefore, this one goes down to -3. Then we have 0 1. That is, the next bit is 0 1. If the next bit is 0 1, next level will be previous levels. We forgot to mention this one. Previous level positive. That means the previous level here is positive. Therefore, then the next number is 1 1. Therefore, we will have -3. Now the next one is 0 1, and the previous level is negative. This one is negative. Okay, this one is negative. Then 0 1 will be -3. So we remain there in -3 because the previous level, that is 1 1, was negative. Then the next level, the next bit is, the next data is 1 0, and the previous level is negative. Okay, so 1 0, the previous level is negative, then it will be +1. Therefore, we come up to +1 here. Then the next number is 0 1 here, 0 1, and the previous level is positive. This one is positive. Then what will happen? 0 1 will be, 0 1 will be represented by +3 voltage. Okay, so we come up to here. This is one example of a multi-level scheme, which is also known as 2B1Q, which stands for 2 binary. Okay, 2 binary, 1, and the Q stands for the level. Let me find it out. Yeah, 2 binary, one quaternary, okay, two binary, one quaternary. Okay, so quaternary basically represents the level of voltage. Two binary is how we separate the strings of bit into two. So that is what this multi-level scheme is about. Why it is called multi-level? Because we have four different level. If we exclude the zero. Now, there are other schemes as well, like this one, 8-bit this one also ternary, where 8-bit is represented with six signal elements. Okay, and then finally, uh, we'll not go into all of this detail. This is the summary of a line coding scheme. So we have come to the end of today's class. I hope you could understand whatever is being taught today. In case of any difficulties, uh, do not hesitate to contact me in the phone number provided to you. I will be more than happy to help you out in if you have any problems. And thank you and stay safe.